I'm back, and look, I have 47 minutes of recording. Woo! um, there's so much I was wanting to talk about. I just finished watching the video I made. I just posted it. Um, titled it, uh, Education, a True Cure for Ignorant Existence. Or an ignorant existence. But while I was watching, there was something else I noticed in what I was talking about, and it kind of reminded me about the law of conservation, of mass, and then there's also the law of conservation of energy. There's all these laws of conservation. Haven't really gotten to review it, but I did have to make a T-shirt for it in middle school. It was very cool. The idea is that it was for mass that I made, but the idea is that mass is neither created nor destroyed. And the way they explain that, I think, if I remember correctly, is it's just distributed, or it's pushed in a different form or different way. I'm gonna watch it again. I'm gonna watch it, and I'll put it in the description, what I learned, links that I watched for it. Because I live in the age of YouTube and Google. I'm #blessed. But anyways, I wanted to talk about how learning for me has always been interesting. And it's not because, and this is something, by the way, oh my gosh, sorry. I get like this, by the way. When I'm thinking about too many things at once, and this is a problem I had, especially when I was younger, I would really jump from idea to idea without a real logical connection. So I haven't been in school, and I think that's what's making me fall back into those habits. But and then I haven't been journaling, so bad habits. But anyways, back to what I was saying. For me, learning has always been very fun and very just amazing. I don't know why exactly, but I'm gonna share with you some tactics of mine I had in the classroom, in learning. Things that I did before learning, by the way. I watched a lot of PBS Kids shows like Cyber Chase, Fetch, the dog. Don't remember the name, but yeah, like Fetch. Those were the kind of shows I was growing up watching. I would watch SpongeBob, so I don't think that SpongeBob can affect a child that much, but I mean, I have a friend whose mom was very strict about SpongeBob, so who knows. But it's not like I watched every show, though. Like, shows like Degrassi didn't really watch. Anyways, that's not school stuff. In the classroom, I was a perfectionist. My lettering, I took a lot of pride in the way I wrote. I was just very particular, as much as I could be. Some other things that are coming to mind now. My dad, he would draw things for me. There are times where he would trace the cover for the movie case for Barbie, and he would let me color it so I could make her black instead of white. He also drew his truck one time, and that was when I was aware about how lines can really form a 3D object on 2D plane, you know? Those are things that are at home. Him painting my nails. I noticed he was very detailed. He would stay in the lines when he was painting my nails, so that's something I noticed. And I'm saying all this to say that learning it wasn't just at school. And I'm sure psychologists have said this, and even at some point in your life, you might realize, yeah, this is something I didn't learn in the classroom, but it really affected my life. And I try and do that here. A lot of my education structure ideas, and in fact, I should really get the paper. I'm going to get the paper, but I'm going to just go over it. A lot of my ideas come from my environment, what I see working, what I see doing well. And some of it comes from the way I see certain cultures benefit from their methods. So as far as culture, I like the way the Jewish people, they really pass on, and this was what I was referring to in my previous video when I was thinking about the Jewish synagogues, how they educate their kids. There's this rite of passage. For the boy, it's the bar mitzvah. For the girls, it's bat mitzvah. And they are to know a lot of the Old Testament, because that's their whole Bible. And that is what allows them to pass into being, a man now, or a woman. And it starts from the intense training they get from, working, where they could understand and learn and, at least hear Bible stories, to where they can now memorize scripture. I don't know how big of abstract they get, because I didn't grow up with that, but having someone like Susan, who was Jewish, she shared a lot of her traditions. Watching Promises documentary, I got to see how the Orthodox Jew, the Jewish boy, Shlomo, and then also seeing even Moshe, how they are very so invested in their faith and in the scriptures and everything like that. And then doing my own personal research. At some point I was researching how Jewish kids are educated for some reason. And then they were talking about the art of Jewish parenting and all that stuff by some guy. I forgot his name, and I'm sorry, but I forgot his name. I liked his video, I commented, but I forgot his name. He works in China, which is very interesting. Anyways, that's the culture. I really like how the Jewish people do things. And it's because it's very holistic and it's very faith-oriented. That's like their foundation. Now, when it comes to my experience, it's not really growing up that I'm picking a lot of things, because my nucleus family was pretty small. For the most part, it would either be me and my dad and my brother, or just me and my dad growing up. I didn't grow up with my mom. And then sometimes we would visit family. A lot of times we would visit family for holidays. But it wasn't something where I would have to teach my cousins, I would have to do anything. There was really no pressure except for you are setting an example. And that was all we were being told. And it wasn't a bad pressure. I was proud to set an example, because I wanted to be a good example. I don't know, it's just a good thing to know that those that are looking after you, that come before you, they could potentially do something with their life because of how you've lived your life. So that was something that I grew up with, but the teaching aspect I didn't have to do that until being here in Baltimore, with my cousins on my mom's side of the family, who I've met only now a year ago. At least the group that came to Texas first, it's been a year. Everyone else, I would hear them from the phone and so on, but then I only met them later in late June 28th of 2018. But yeah, in the summertime I came up here for a few months, then went to Kenya, then came back, then went to Texas, then now I'm back again, still here. But yeah, a lot of the teaching aspects of the education system, which I'm going to get the paper now, comes from how I've lived in this environment. So I'll be right back. I'll pause the video to save your time. Okay. I'm back with my tattered but very much important notepad. You can't see it well, and I actually have a better picture because I sent a picture to my dad when he was trying to see what I was up to. You can see the date. Or not. Yeah, this is the date. I wrote this stuff. And this was just an idea of an outline. If it was in the K through 12 format and kids were to come during those years to my school, what would it be like? I even had whole writing. Somehow it got ripped up. I have no resentment to anybody because I know that just happens here. I'm not gonna make a joke here about that. I'm being considerate of people who are like, oh no, Princess, are you saying all these things? You know, so I'm not gonna run my mouth too much, but maybe somebody got hungry or something got hungry and ate my paper. But yeah, this is an outline that was basically based off of my experience here, and which I guess you could say it emulates a Kenyan style. I don't really know. I mean, maybe it's just a trend with big families, how, you know, older kids are supposed to lead the younger kids, and it's not like, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have the older kids lead the younger kids, and of the younger kids, the older one of the younger kids to lead them again. So it's just building this idea of respecting those who've been there longer, but at the same time, you're still supposed to respect everybody. Like an older person shouldn't silence a child. If they have something to say, they have something to say, and we should hear it. And that part is not Kenyan. In fact, what is Kenyan is respect your elders and just keep quiet. I mean, I think that's what I've been seeing. I could be wrong, but that's what I've seen. But yeah, I have this paper, and I could show it later, like in a video where, you know what, I'll put a link to it as a document on Google Docs. You'll be able to see it somehow. Yeah. Because I don't like editing videos anymore. It's just, I don't have the time for it. And I don't have the equipment. My laptop's pretty crappy. Anyways, I have a lot of ideas of education, and how learning can be. But I wanted to talk now about how I particularly learn. And I'm just going to give several examples, or as many as I can think of right now. I didn't prepare for this. But for the longest time, I've been wanting to share this. Because I think I would like to put some videos on it, just so that people can be aware that there are more ways to learn than just the visual, kinesthetic, auditory. Not that they're bad. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just a way to make things overlap, and that's what I'm trying to do with education, is trying to see the connection and show people the connection that facts or knowledge has with our experience as humans. So, another at-home example, sorry, I forgot this. Another at-home example is when I do the dishes, and Maya knows about this because I've told her twice. The first time she heard for the first time, the second time was about a few days ago, if not a couple days ago, and I asked her if I told her about this thing that I do at home, and she was like, yeah, you do this with your silverware, so she knows. Anyways, when I arrange silverware, and I can see this in my head, literally, it starts with the forks, then the spoons, then the knives, then the forks, the little forks, then the little spoons, and then this like miscellaneous of like huge, like the steak knife, maybe, you know, all the knives that go in the butcher block that can't fit in there, it goes there. And the story behind it is the knives and the forks are very opposing to each other, so the spoon has to be there to separate. Okay, so now that you have that weird story, here's the another thing, and I've written this in the comments before on YouTube. It was on number file, so if you want to verify what I'm saying, you can check. I posted that months ago, but I'm making this video now. And it's, anyways, let me just say it. So, with numbers, I think of them as people, and a lot of people talk about synesthesia as seeing or hearing color. and that's the connections they'll have with things. I didn't have that. But for me, it was seeing that numbers are in relationship, and it's based on their personality and how well they work together. And this sort of way of thinking worked out for me because at one point I had an algebra teacher who sort of shared that, where the way he was teaching matrix is there's two roommates, multiplying matrix. There are two roommates. They're on a bunk bed. They have a funny handshake where they first do the head, then the hands, then the knees. And then the next one gets up and the head, the hands, and the knees. So the way he thinks of numbers as people, it helped me because it makes the numbers look pretty fun. Anyways, the number 1, he is the cool kid. And okay, when I say he or she, it's just because I think I grew up with an idea of what is cool or what is friendly was either more masculine or more feminine, but it's not because a guy can't be friendly or a girl can't be cool. Anyway, so number 1 is the cool kid, and he's very much lone wolf sort of deal. Like, people will hang out with him, but at the end of the day, he's still number 1. And that applies in multiplication. That really applies in multiplication, in division. Number 1 is just himself. Now, number 2 is the friendliest. She is nice to everybody, even the mean ones like number 9 and number 8 and number 7. And number 2 just makes everyone feel better. This especially happens in multiplication, but this also happens in addition. Number 3 and number 4, they're buddies. They're a little naive about the world, but they always work together, especially when trying to hang out with number 7, because together they make number 7. But they're trying to hang out with that group, that upper group. So 3 and 4 are friends. 5 is kind of like Angelica. Think of Angelica from Rugrats, where Angelica's really bossy, but she's not even all that. That's number 5. This mainly happens it happens all around. And the thing is number 5 kind of does get away, but the thing is, when you compare number 5 with number 10, there's an obvious difference, you know? Like, number 5 can only do so much, you know? So, this is especially with multiplication. I mean, it's with all things, but you can really see it with multiplication. Number 6 is an awkward one. I mean, not so awkward, but it's like number 2 is number 6's friend. And number 5 is the younger bully. And 6 is like close to 7, but not really. Number 7 does not think well of number 6. Number 7 is very much towards the 8 and 9 group. So, yeah, number 6 is in an awkward position. Number 7 is less than number 8. Number 8 is less than number 9. Think of Mean Girls, okay? Number 9 is Regina. Number 8 is Gretchen, and number 7 is Karen. Something like that. Not so much that it's dumb, but it's just the ranking. You can say it's ranked by intelligence for Mean Girls. There, it's ranked by importance or significance. But they're still mean, you get me? Like, number 7 is still a little rude. Number 8 is there. And I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of number 8. Anyways, number 9 is the bossiest. It's like number 5 grown up. And really bossy with multiplication, you can tell. But number 10 is the cool one, and honestly, everyone respects number 10. That's why when number 10 comes around, everyone just listens. And then, of course, 100 is the wise one. So that's the relationship of the 100, 10, and then 1. Yeah. Then 11 is, 10 and 1, which is cool. Number 12 is like 10 and 2. So it's like once they get to 10, it's like after that, it shows this idea of being cool and something. Not cool, but like older. And it just keeps going, But it's still the same idea, sort of. I mean, 13 and 14, they're not really the same. They've grown apart. 17 and 18 and 19. Like, they have a little bit of a different personality, but the most distinct personalities were 1 through 10. Number 0 didn't have much of a thing for that one. Guess it's the one that's kind of invisible, no one really notices. But, that's basically it. I mean, I'm saying all that to say that there are more ways to think of numbers than just by colors or by quantity. You can think of it quality. What kind of number is it? Is it a mean number? Is it a nice number? I liked multiplying with number 2. Anyways, I'm getting off topic, but I plan to put out some videos where numbers are considered that way. Another way I would think in the classroom is when I'm taking a test. I don't feel a lot of pressure. I know a lot of kids, they talk about how they are bad test takers. Not even kids, but even adults, they'll talk about it. And they talk about it like it's very pressuring. But for me, I liked it because it was like I was putting the pressure on the questions. I would think of myself as an investigator, and each question was me interrogating the content I was being questioned on. And me getting the right answer is me solving the case. So that's how I felt about tests. Which is why even during a test I would be smiling, laughing, because I see that these people, the suspects, they don't know how to hold their story. And they'll tell me a stupid answer here. Over here, they'll tell a story that doesn't match the rest of the questions, even though it may make sense. It's like, no, you're trying to be slick, but you didn't talk with your buddies, so... That's how I viewed taking a test. So I didn't really feel so scared about them. Reading for me was a problem, though. That's something that I want to understand better, which I don't right now. But maybe it just had to do with the way I read aloud. I don't know. But when it comes to answering a question, I really liked feeling like an investigator. So reading carefully, it's like you have to be a good detective. You can't be a good detective if you're just being careless. Otherwise, someone will get away free and they're maybe not supposed to, So, yeah. Those are the only things I can think of right now. But you got a little bit inside of my brain. I'm also an ENFP. I've always really liked people, I guess. I liked making... I'm kind of like... I'm a people person, so... That's probably why I viewed a lot of my learning as a person. So, yeah. Anyway, something to think about. Thanks for watching the second of 2 p.logs today. If you watched them today, which I doubt you can. Because I'm putting them unlisted for now. So, yeah. Goodbye.